forecast. Partly cloudy today, a top of 29. Very hot for Friday, 37. And a possible shower for Saturday, 27. Then mostly sunny for Sunday, partly cloudy Monday and sunny for Tuesday with temps in the mid to high 20s. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Call 5AA now to Talk Adelaide. 8223 0000. This is Peter Godfrey.
6 minutes past 5, 10 degrees. Come down a little bit more again. A little chilly out there this morning. Now, Steve, hope you're still listening. You mentioned problem with the nav man in your truck, and hoping that at least one of our truckie mates listening could help us out. Keza, bless him, did that too. He suggests that, well, the nav man, very complicated, so we can't really provide you any advice on that. But on the break periods, now I hope I've got this right. So when you're driving, maximum of 5 hours driving with either two 15-minute breaks within that 5 hour period, or after that 5 hours, 1 half-hour break. And then that's got to be repeated for the next 5 hours or so. And you can work a 12-hour shift driving the trucks, but there can't be more than 12 hours in a 24-hour period, so there can't be an overlap somehow within a 24-hour period. Now, I hope I've paraphrased that correctly, and I hope that helps you, Steve. Thanks for your info, Keza, as well. All right, let's take a look at what's happening across the ditch, affecting our Kiwi cousin, Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz. How are you, Selwyn?
Yeah, pretty good, Peter. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. How's the weather at your side?
Yeah, well, it cleared up very good for Guy Fawkes night, so all of those that were commemorating Guy Fawkes with fireworks and the displays and all of that type of thing, which I think we'll talk about later on. Yep. The weather cleared for them, and they obviously had a pretty booming night, shall we say,
boom,
Peter.
Boom, no pun intended. Yes. I'm interested in this thing about the Guy Fawkes, which, as you say, we will get onto in a moment, because it sort of doesn't really happen here. So,
yeah, but weather-wise, it's a bit unsettled. Just looking out the window is the most scientific I can be on this one. But
lick your finger and hold it up.
Yeah, finger's held up. Yes, it looks like it's coming from a southwesterly direction, and it looks like squalls. And I'd say, Peter, that showers throughout the day.
Oh,
the trees have got that uneasy kind of vibe to them. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Well, to contrast that, we've got 37 degrees forecast for tomorrow. But only the one day of it. Only the 29 today, 37 tomorrow, 27 Saturday.
Good grief.
How do we get used to it?
How does that happen when you're so close to this place? It must be that we're caught in the draft of Antarctica or something around these parts.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some of the news that's happening in your part of the world. Now, your Prime Minister, John Key, has announced details of your initial commitment to fighting ISIL, the international coalition to fight ISIL in northern Iraq. So what's he announced?
Yes, he announced yesterday, Peter, that Kiwi soldiers will be tasked to train groups in the basically their Iraqi counterparts, and their training will take place inside locations in Iraq itself. The initial small contingent from New Zealand will be deployed to Iraq to assess what type of combat training is required. So we understand that 3 New Zealand Defence personnel are up there at the moment doing an assessment, and there will be another 7 that go up there. I think they're leaving today. And they will ascertain the scope and purpose and, the timeline of when that is going to occur. Now, we understand that it is very close, if not imminent, as far as a fairly sizable training component going up there. The Prime Minister insisted that at this stage the New Zealand Defence trainers will not include SAS combat soldiers like we deployed into Afghanistan, like the Australian Defence Force did as well. He said that, and this is a quote here, New Zealand cannot and should not fight Iraqis' battles for them. I am ruling out New Zealand sending SAS or any troops into combat roles in Iraq, end of quote. Now, that was the Prime Minister of New Zealand saying that, John Key. But John Key later admitted, Peter, that SAS personnel may be deployed in the future to protect and defend New Zealand training bases in the war-torn region. Now, what we're talking about there is those bases that New Zealand will be on, where it is providing training for Iraqi forces. And he's saying that there may be in the future a requirement, depending on what happens inside Iraq relating to the battle against ISIL, whether or not New Zealand SAS troops need to be there to defend New Zealanders, and also the infrastructure that they may have put in place on those bases.
Okay, so but it wouldn't be, if it did happen, it wouldn't be into the combat roles. It would just be defensive, I guess.
What he's doing there is he's trying to show quite a difference between what New Zealand's SAS were doing up in Afghanistan, and there are sensitivities around all sorts of areas there, but primarily the government had never informed New Zealand that SAS troops were involved with combat in Kabul and other places in Afghanistan, and then it was found to be not accurate, and the New Zealand government tried to hold the line where SAS troops, yes, they were involved in combat operations, but they were basically instructing their Afghanistan counterparts on what they should do in the field while under fire and things like that, and that didn't hold water when news reports came back suggesting otherwise once again. So what John Key is trying to do there is to say that type of thing is not what is intended in this forward commitment to the battle against ISIL.
Okay. And also an announcement of an increase in humanitarian support?
Yes, so this is close to what Tony Abbott announced a week or so ago, and ratcheting up the values of humanitarian support in monetary terms. And John Key certainly was pushing that. I get the feeling that that this is one of the ways that John Key is trying to make sure he's got a lot of Kiwis on side on this decision. And certainly, New Zealanders, like Australians, are well aware that the refugee situation up there in that region, particularly in the first wave of huge numbers, millions of people from the Syrian conflict, and now Iraqi refugees as well, adding to that, and the strains that are going on in the countries like Lebanon and Jordan, etc., where the bulk of those refugees are being located. So New Zealand is putting a small amount, but it's from a New Zealand standard, it's a significant amount across to increase that. These are the initial decisions that have been made. Certainly, New Zealand is in a position where it will most likely be able to increase its offering, if you like, should it be determined that it needs to.
Are you able to gauge what's the sort of feeling amongst Kiwis in regard to any kind of sort of support over there? Is it supportive of sending some support to northern Iraq, or is there opposition like in previous conflicts in that region?
There's strong opposition in different ways. If you were looking at the general public, it does appear, while it has not been polled on this, it does appear that there is an acceptance that an international community should actually be deployed to do something about this ISIL problem.
Yeah.
And that's a given. There seems to be an acceptance that there should be a regional response to a regional problem, that outside players like New Zealand and Australia may assist but not be directly involved in a ground invasion and that type of thing. So boots on the ground people would be shaking their heads.
Yeah. Which seems to be the general response here, the UK, the US, pretty much that kind of,
If you look at the opposition, the leading party, if we look at the political opposition, Labor, is pretty much on the same song sheet as the national-led government here in its response. Even with the intelligence laws that John Key, the Prime Minister, announced yesterday that will be beefed up once again, and quite severe in some areas. The main opposition party, the Labor Party, is while it's saying that it'll be checking through this legislation that will go to select committee very soon. But in general, it seems to be quite supportive of the new laws that are being proposed. Those new laws, what I'm talking about there, are new security and intelligence laws that will be introduced to address what the Prime Minister believes are vulnerabilities on security and intelligence in New Zealand. The changes will include, Peter, an increase in funding of around $7 million for the SIS, that's the Security Intelligence Service, kind of like our version of your ASIO.
Yeah.
And it will aid that money will aid it to beef up the numbers of spies in New Zealand once again, and to increase its ability to place other Kiwis under surveillance. That's citizens and permanent residents here, as well as other visitors who may sympathise with ISIL and ISIS in their cause. Particularly the new laws, they will enable New Zealand intelligence operatives, basically spies, to conduct surveillance on targets without a warrant for up to 48 hours. So that's a new part of the law, and certainly will be one where opposition will focus and Kiwis will focus intently on that. Now, should that urgency test be satisfied is what they're saying. So what the Prime Minister is proposing here is law and giving the SIS director the ability to place groups or people under surveillance without getting a warrant for 48 hours should it be an urgent situation arise. Then after that 48-hour period, if the director has not been able to obtain a warrant from Chris Van Lessen, he's the minister in charge of such things, then all evidence that was acquired over that period of time would have to be destroyed, chucked out. So the new laws, they'll enable, strengthening up in that way, and that's always controversial in countries like Australia and New Zealand and other Western nations as well. So that's where it is going. While avoiding the specifics, the Prime Minister also suggested that New Zealand SIS currently has in its sights basically 30 to 40 people in New Zealand that are sympathisers to ISIL. And clearly that is causing concerns, and the briefing that the Prime Minister has been getting from his spies saying that they're causing considerable concern. He's also indicating that there are apparently around 40 other citizens or permanent residents who are at risk of being receptive to extremist grooming, and that they require more investigation. So he's starting to talk about significant numbers of people really in considering what has occurred overseas in places like Canada and your own country.
Is it aware of whether any Kiwis have gone to fight alongside ISIL, as we've had here?
Yes, the government's admitted that there is at least 5 people that have been fighting up in the Syria area under ISIL, and believes that there may be more. Part of the new laws will be empowering the Minister of Internal Affairs to withdraw passports. So a similar kind of thing to what's occurred in Australia.
Have any been withdrawn yet?
No, none have been withdrawn at this stage, although I should actually say, under the current laws, there has been passports withdrawn from those that the government believes to have been planning to go overseas. To fight. So they're tidying up the law in that area, and there is no provision really to withdraw a passport from someone who is already travelling. So that's where that's been beefed up. And that itself is causing, a lot of attention as well, in the sense that if somebody is a New Zealand citizen and holding a New Zealand passport and they're overseas, they get involved in one of these conflicts. And if the government cancels the passport, the opposition parties are saying, well, the concern here is that you're creating a stateless person, and even if they had a change of heart and wanted to bail out of the situation they've got in, they won't be able to. So there's a debate around that.
And who are what's this group? A group of free thinkers that have been appointed as well. This is all related to this as well, is it?
It is, yeah. The Prime Minister, he's appointed 10 individuals that he describes as free thinkers. It sounds like some sort of hayseed kind of thing. Imagine our Prime Minister sitting back on a haystack playing his acoustic guitar, something there. But what it is he's placed these free thinkers, appointed them to it's an acronym, ODESC, for, and what it means is basically Officials Committee for Domestic and External Security Coordination, and that's attached to the DPMC, which is the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, Peter. So, it's in the Prime Minister's kind of sphere, and it's supposed to be like a think tank kind of thing of people that can advise. Now, their backgrounds are varied. and buys him, I should say. So the backgrounds are varied from the public and private sector, including an executive from New Zealand's largest whiteware manufacturer, Fisher & Paykel, make washing machines, fridges and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another's from a cricket management background. Yet another is from the New Zealand Qualifications Authority that sets all the standards for New Zealand degrees and qualifications, etc. And another is a director. You can't leave milk out of the fitness factor in New Zealand, even when it comes to security and intelligence. You know, a director of Dairy New Zealand has been appointed.
Oh, you there, Selwyn? Oh, I think we just lost Selwyn there. Cut off mid. You there? We'll try and get Selwyn back. Oh, technology. It's a long way across the ditch. Selwyn Manning's with us from livenews.co.nz. We'll catch Selwyn and finish that sentence in just a moment.
Leon Biner.
CFS fireys have condemned the state government's arrogance and disrespect over emergency services levy increases. Andrew Cadd from the York Valley CFS.
I want to point out, Leon, that the state government worked on estimates from the previous federal government, so they've budgeted on funds that weren't actually there, so they blame themselves. That's what they should be doing.
Leon Biner, weekday mornings from 9.
I'll be back with you next Monday on 1395 Adelaide's 5AA.
Get the big, colourful spring blooms and the rich, luscious, healthy lawn you want at Garden Grove. Prepare for summer now with fertilising and mulching. Garden Grove have all the best brands, backed up by the very best advice. So spring into Garden Grove, Golden Grove Road, Golden Grove, for the garden you want.
Garden Grove, that's the garden. Garden Grove, that's the garden. Garden Grove, the garden that I want.
Phone 8251 1111 for delivery to all areas.
Margaret's never played goal attack for Australia. Never won any medals. In fact, Margaret's never played sport in her life. She's more of a gardening star. That's why she has a dodgy knee. Sportsperson or not, SportsMed SA is here to help Margaret get back on track and back in the garden. SportsMed SA specialises in the treatment and recovery from orthopaedic, musculoskeletal and arthritis conditions, so it should always be your first choice. SportsMed SA, getting you back in the garden. Ask your doctor for a referral to SportsMed SA. Visit sportsmed.com.au.
When it comes to adventuring, going off-road and going off-track are two very different things. So if you don't want to get lost, or even if you do, go see TJM 4x4 Equipped about communications and off-road navigation gear. They stock it all, from UHF radios, VMS and HEMA satellite navigation. So go see them today, then get off-road tomorrow. TJM Equipped. Two big locations, Main North Road, Nailsworth and South Road St Mary's. TJMSA.com.au.
There's never been a better time to switch to Solar Hut Solar Hot Water or solar power. Switch now and you'll not only enjoy energy free from the sun, you'll also get up to 40 months interest free. Plus, you'll still get up to $2,000 in government incentives with any Solar Hut Solar Hot Water solar power combo. But hurry, our 40 months interest-free offer must end soon. Go to solarheart.com.au for details. Terms, conditions, fees, charges and lending criteria apply.
Looking for the perfect place to enjoy your weekend breakfast? Here's the answer. The deck at the Birkenhead Tavern, Birkenhead. Enjoy your eggs and bacon, your eggs Benedict, croissants, fresh coffee or orange juice, whilst taking in the multi-million-dollar views of the Port River. The Birkenhead Tavern's fully enclosed deck where you can dine outside and bask in the sunshine. Breakfast from 8:30am to 11am every weekend and public holidays. The Birkenhead Tavern, part of the Barreau Hotel Group.
Talking Adelaide with Peter Godfrey on 1395 5AA.
The joys of long-distance telecommunication. We've got Selwyn back. Obviously, the government was listening in and didn't like you criticising them.
Yeah, I'd like to say that, it's one thing criticising the intelligence kind of arrangements in the country, but when you start criticising milk in a country like New Zealand, maybe, but honestly, I think it's more likely to be a technology problem as opposed to being monitored.
Yeah, so just to quickly wind up that one, so this group of free thinkers for the what is it, Officials Committee for Domestic and External Security Coordination, just to look at potential domestic terrorism threats in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. The group, so that's what it's doing. It's testing whether or not the government's response right now and what it's doing and the proposed laws, et cetera, and also its coordination with the police in their intelligence areas and all of that type of thing, and issues of criminality that may be imminent, that the government has got all bases checked all boxes ticked, if you like.
Yeah.
So that's what the free thinkers are supposed to be doing, but it does sound a very strange kind of thing. Once again, the government is trying to, I think, connect to fairly respected people in different quarters, and to try and actually make it look like it is engaging with the country on these sensitive issues as opposed to pushing it away.
Yeah. All right. Now, Guy Fawkes Night. Now, are the fun police out in force, or is it or are there great serious concerns about safety for Kiwis with Guy Fawkes Night? A petition in Parliament to ban fireworks. I didn't even know you still had fireworks going.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Still is. November 5th. And we're just talking before it came back there, Peter, that it sounds like Australia banned a long time ago.
Yeah. You can have fireworks, you got to get a permit for it, and there's a whole lot of conditions, but, basically it's too hard. So it doesn't happen.
Over here, for a couple of weeks prior to Guy Fawkes Day, which is November the 5th, still here, so you can bowl up, youths and adults can bowl up to a shop, a dairy, if you like, grocer's shop, etc., and just basically buy your fireworks over the counter. And skyrockets were banned, it was back in the 1990s. Yeah. And that was in response to some pretty serious injuries that were occurring. It became very, very clear that some people were using the skyrockets for, rockets at each other and rockets at cars going down the road, that type of thing. What's happened there, though, is the advance of the new kind of fireworks that send up a projectile that up into the air that then explodes like a skyrocket used to, So those they're a big deal here. And like last night, Guy Fawkes Night, and here in Auckland and like other places all over the country, it's like a war zone. The sky's lighting up all over the place. So it's very popular. The Prime Minister seems to be trying to edge New Zealanders that way toward a ban, Peter, so that you can't let your fireworks off in the private gardens and things. There are city council kind of bans in public places already, but what the Prime Minister is hinting toward, he put it from the point of view of the evolution here in New Zealand is heading toward a ban, but then there will be the controlled displays that will be done by organised and licensed operators.
Which is what we have here, yeah.
Yeah, and the firefighters are right behind this, Peter. They're kind of saying that the risks that they see year after year after year to children, animals and property is just too great. They say that the government should announce a ban as soon as they can and enforce it strictly. Others are concerned that the plight of wild and domestic animals they become distraught and scared. Anyone would know, who has an animal or livestock or observes wild animals that during, fireworks period over here, that it's just really distressing for them. And the Prime Minister, once again, he said he doesn't want to be a killjoy or spoil people's fun, but the ban is probably coming. So that would bring us more into alignment with you guys, as I understand.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to think. It was moved. Guy Fawkes Night was moved from November to June or July. Oh heck, it must have been early 70s. I don't remember it being in November myself, but I do remember it in July. And we'd buy the firecrackers at the local corner store, and build the big bonfire in the paddock down the road, and the whole neighbourhood would be there shooting off all these things. But there were similar concerns as to what have been raised in New Zealand, then obviously about damage and injuries and so on, and ultimately it was banned. Again, probably 1973, 74, somewhere there from memory.
Well, shows you we're very, very slow to control it over here. There has been controls over the years that shorten up the time between Guy Fawkes Day and when fireworks go on sale.
Right.
And when I was a kid, it used to be. Seemed like months before.
Well, that's my memory of it too as a kid here. Yeah.
And so, of course, we were letting them all off and making these great big projectile things and pipe bombs and all sorts of things out of the gunpowder and watching them explode. Certainly when you got around the 10 to 13 years of age.
Yeah.
So when you think back, it was so dangerous. Lucky we got all my fingers to type blimmin' stories with Peter.
Exactly.
So when you think of what was going on as kids, you can see the sense maybe of doing.
Well, as much as it's a topic here that comes up as a one of those nostalgia type things. Remembering the fun of Cracker Night as we called it, and it was good fun, but talking seriously, yes, there was a lot of serious injuries, and it was fun, but boy, you got to draw the line somewhere, I guess. So it looks like the ban's coming.
Yes, it does seem so. It may be coming quicker than people think.
Okay. Well, Selwyn, many thanks. Thank you for joining us this morning. Have a great day or great week, and we'll catch you again next week.
You too, Peter.
All the best, bye. Selwyn Manning in New Zealand, livenews.co.nz to find out more. It's 5:30.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Partly cloudy and 29. It's 5:30. I'm Anne Stone. The Victorian Racing Club has announced a comprehensive review at the end of the Spring Carnival after the shock deaths of 2 Melbourne Cup horses, Araldo and Admire Iraqi. In the meantime, security has been increased to ensure flags bigger than 1 square metre can't be taken to the racecourse, and flags won't be allowed around the horses at all. Horses will now come back to the mounting yard via the Clock Tower entrance for Group 1 races and not through the crowd. Meantime, a leading trainer has defended the racing industry following the shock deaths of 2 horses after the Melbourne Cup. Admire Iraqi died of a heart attack in his stall, while Araldo broke his leg and had to be put down. Hall of Fame trainer Lee Friedman says calls to ban racing are absurd.
It's a shame the industry has to defend itself against these sort of people every time there's some sort of problem. The fact remains, less than 0.07% of the horses that race ever end up dying because of racing.
Australian-funded health workers will be in West Africa within days to help fight the deadly Ebola virus. The government will hire Aspen Medical at a cost of $20 million to run a 100-bed facility in Sierra Leone until the middle of next year. But Green Senator Richard Di Natale hopes it's not just a PR exercise. He's planning a trip to West Africa to see the Ebola epidemic firsthand.
To have a look at the hospital that's been constructed to see whether it's, more than just a PR exercise. I'm not suggesting that it is, but you want to make sure this is a genuine commitment because Australia does need to be committing to this crisis.
3 films produced by the SA Tourism Commission have been shown in India to try to boost tourism in Adelaide. They're aimed at bringing Indians to SA for the opening game of the ICC Cricket World Cup in February next year. And Deputy Premier John Rao says the films promote the best of the state.
It's about an Indian cricket identity and his son who come to South Australia, and there's a series of images of them visiting various parts of the state, going to Hahndorf, going to Kangaroo Island, all that sort of thing. And the idea is to raise awareness of South Australia.
US